Good day, learners! Our lesson is about the sum and product of the roots of a quadratic equation. If x of 1 and x of 2 are the roots of the quadratic equation ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, then x of 1 plus x of 2, which is the sum, is equal to negative b over a. And x of 1 times x of 2, or the product, is equal to c over a. Note that if the general quadratic equation is written in the form x squared plus negative b over ax plus c over a is equal to 0, then x squared minus the sum of the roots x plus the product of the roots is equal to 0. This relationship is useful in writing quadratic equation whose roots are given. How do we write a quadratic equation whose roots are given? Let us watch this clip.
Okay, so let us find the quadratic equations whose roots are 3 and 3/4. Okay, so remember the pattern in writing the quadratic equation. If the roots are given, we have x squared minus the sum of the roots x, sum of the roots x, plus the product of the roots is equal to 0. Okay? So, let us determine the sum. So, yung sum natin is x of 1 plus x of 2, syempre. So, therefore, we have 3 plus 3/4. 3 plus 3/4 is 3 and 3/4, which is equal to, in improper fraction, 4 times 3, 12 plus 3. So, we have 15/4. So, ayun yung product, ay yung sum natin, I should say. So, ang sum natin is 15/4. Okay? For our product, so we have x of 1 times x of 2. So, we have 3 times 3/4. In multiplying a whole number and a fraction, we have to multiply the whole number by the numerator. So, we have 9. 3 times 3 is 9. Then, copy the denominator, which is 4. So, i-substitute natin yan dun sa pattern natin. So, we have to copy x squared minus the sum. Our sum is 15/4 x times x plus the product, which is 9/4, is equal to 0. Okay, so therefore we have x squared minus 15/4 x plus 9/4 is equal to 0. Since ang gusto natin is for us to have a whole number as values of our a, b, and c, kailangan nating i-cancel out yung denominator dyan sa linear term natin at saka sa constant term. So, we need to multiply the whole equation by the GCF of our denominator, which is, in this case, we have 4. So, therefore, we have 4 times x squared is 4x squared. Okay, then 4 times negative 15/4 x is actually negative 15x. Kasi magka-cancel yung 4 and 4 dito. Okay, then positive 4 times positive 9/4 is actually positive 9. Then 4 times 0 is 0. So therefore, our quadratic equation whose roots are 3 and 3/4 is actually 4x squared minus 15x plus 9 is equal to 0. Okay, so let us have this example naman. Write a quadratic equation that has given roots which are 5 plus the square root of 6 and 5 minus the square root of 6. Okay, so again, we need to get the sum first and product, then substitute natin doon sa pattern natin na x squared minus the sum of the roots x plus the product of the roots is equal to 0. So, let us first get the sum. So, the sum is x of 1 plus x of 2. So, x of 1 plus x of 2. So, we have 5 plus the square root of 6 plus 5 minus the square root of 6. Okay? So, to add this, we have to simply add the whole number and then add again the radical. Okay? So, 5 plus 5 is 10. Positive square root of 6 plus negative square root of 6, magka-cancel out na yan because that is equal to 0. So, therefore, our sum is 10. Okay? For our product, we have x of 1 times x of 2. So, we have 5 plus the square root of 6 times 5 minus the square root of 6. So, in this case, kailangan natin gamitan ng FOIL method. So, first term times first term, 5 times 5, we have 25. Then, first term times, or the outer terms, we are going to multiply the outer terms. So, 5 times negative square root of 6 is negative 5 square root of 6. Then, we multiply the inner terms. So, positive square root of 6 times 5 is positive 5 square root of 6. Then, we multiply the last terms. Positive square root of 6 times negative square root of 6 is negative square root of 36, which is actually equal to negative 6. Okay, so simplify natin. 25 minus 6 is 19. Then we have negative 5 square root of 6 plus 5 square root of 6. Again, cancelled out na yan. So, ang product natin is 19. So, therefore, since meron na tayong sum and product, we're now going to substitute it to our pattern. X squared minus the sum of the roots, sum of roots x plus the product of the roots, product of roots is equal to 0. So, therefore, we have x squared minus the sum is 10, minus 10 times x. Okay? Plus the product, which is 19, is equal to 0. So, therefore, eto na yung quadratic equation natin, whose roots are 5 plus the square root of 6 and 5 minus the square root of 6. Okay?
Okay, so now let us have another set of examples. So we have here, write the quadratic equations whose roots are given. So we have the first one, 2 and negative 5. Okay, so we get the sum. We have 2 plus negative 5. So therefore, we have a sum which is equal to negative 3. Then, we get the product, x of 1 times x of 2. So you have 2 times negative 5. So we have negative 10. So we are going to substitute it to the pattern. So we have x squared minus the sum, which is negative 3x, plus the product, which is negative 10. So, equal to 0. So, simplify natin. Tatanggalin natin yung parenthesis dyan. So, therefore, we have x squared. Copy natin yan. The negative times negative 3 is positive 3 times x. So, we have x squared plus 3x. Then, positive times negative 10 is negative 10. So, we have here. So, x squared plus 3x minus 10 is equal to 0. So, this is the quadratic equations whose roots are 2 and negative 5. Okay? Next, we have 5 plus the square root of 3 and 5 minus the square root of 3. So, again, we get the sum. We have 5 plus the square root of 3 plus 5 minus the square root of 3. We combine the whole number and combine the radical. So 5 plus 5 is 10. Then square root of 3 plus negative square root of 3. So magka-cancel out na yan because it is equal to 0. So therefore our sum is 10. Okay, for the product we have 5 plus the square root of 3 times 5 minus the square root of 3. So we can do the FOIL method. We multiply the first terms, then followed by the product of the last, the inner term, outer term, then the inner term, then the last terms. Okay, so 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times negative square root of 3 is negative 5 square root of 3. Then square root of 3 times 5 is 5 square root of 3. Then square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is negative square root of 9. So, kung napapansin ninyo, ito, na-cancel out na. Cancelled out na yan because it is already equal to 0. So you have 25 minus the square root of 9. And the square root of 9 is actually 3. So we have 25 minus 3. So our product is 22. So we are going again to substitute the sum and the product 10 and 22 to the pattern. So therefore we have x squared minus the sum of the roots x, which is 10. So we have to replace the sum by 10. Then, plus, yung product, isa-substitute natin doon, yung 22 na na-solve natin. So, equal to 0. So, therefore, we have x squared minus 10x plus 22 is equal to 0. Okay? So, now, without actually solving for the roots of a quadratic equation, how can we identify the sum and product of the roots? What do you think? Okay? So, let us watch this clip to know how.
Okay, so now we are going to identify the sum and product of the roots of the given quadratic equation. So take note na to find the sum of a given quadratic equation, we have negative b over a, while for the product, we have c over a. So let us first identify the value of a, b, and c on the first example natin, first quadratic equation. So our a is 4. Our b is negative 7, and our c is positive 9. So, to get the sum, we simply have negative b over a. So, we have negative b, ang b natin negative 7, over a, which is 4. So, negative times negative 7 is positive 7 over 4. So, eto na yung sum natin. This is our sum. For our product, we have c over a. Our c is 9, our a is 4. So, eto na yung product natin. Okay? As simple as that. So, next, we have 10x squared minus 20x plus 11 is equal to 0. Again, we are going to identify the sum and product of the roots without actually solving for the roots of a quadratic equation. So, ang a natin is 10. B is negative 20. Negative 20. And our c is positive 11. Okay? So, ang sum natin is negative b over a. So, we have negative of negative 20 over a. So, negative times negative 20 is positive 20 divided by 10. So, therefore, our sum is 2. So, ang sum ng roots natin is 2. For our product, we have c. Our c is 11 over a, which is 10. So, therefore, our product is 11 over 10. Okay? Another, if we have this, 9x squared plus 7x minus 1 is equal to 0. Okay? So, again, to get the sum and product without actually solving for the roots of the quadratic equation, we have a as 9, our b is 7, and our c is negative 1. So, again, ang sum natin is negative b over a. So we have negative of positive 7. So we have negative 7 over a, which is 9. So ang sum ng roots ng quadratic equation natin is negative 7 over 9. While for the product, we have c over a. So our c is negative 1 and our a is 9. So our product is negative 1/9. Okay?
Okay, so let us have the following examples. Let us try to solve for this. Find the sum and product of the roots of, we have 2x squared plus 8x minus 10 is equal to 0. So, we need to identify first the values of our a, b, and c. So, our a is 2, our b is 8, and our c is negative 10. So, to get the sum, we have negative b over a, so we have negative 8 divided by 2, so the sum is negative 4. For the product, we have x of 1 times x of 2, yung product, is equal to c over a. So we have negative 10, which is our c, over 2, which is a. So negative 10 divided by 2, so we have negative 5. So this, therefore, negative 4 is our sum and negative 5 is the product. Okay? Next, use the values of a, b, and c in finding the roots of the quadratic equation x squared plus 7x minus 18 is equal to 0. Okay? So, we are not going to solve for the roots. We are not actually going to solve for the roots of the quadratic equation, but we are going to make use of the values of a, b, and c. So, basically, if-follow lang natin yung ginawa natin dito sa number 1. Okay, so we are going to identify the values first of a, b, and c. So our a, based on the equation, is 1, our b is 7, and our c is negative 18. So to get the sum, we have negative b, our b is 7, so we have negative 7 over 1. So simplify natin, our sum therefore is negative 7. Well, for the roots, we have, or the roots rather, the product, I should say, the product of the roots of x squared plus 7x minus 18 is equal to 0 is actually negative 18. Why? We have c over a as the formula for to get the product using a, b, and c. So our c is negative 18 over 1, so that is negative 18. Okay, so by inspection, the two numbers that give a sum of negative 7 and a product of negative 18 are negative 9 and positive 2. So, kung i-check natin, if you're going to add negative 9 and 2, so negative 9 plus 2, you have negative 7. To get the product, negative 9 times 2, we have negative 18. So, therefore, the roots, yung hinahanap dun sa problem natin, are negative 9 and 2. So, hindi tayo actually nag-solve ng quadratic equation. Hindi natin sinolve, kundi we make use of the sum and product of the roots. Okay? So, actually, ito yung naging solution natin for checking purposes. Okay? So, let us try to solve some problems. So, let us have number 1. The sum of the roots of quadratic equation is negative 5, and one of its roots is 7. What is the other root and the quadratic equation? So, since kailangan natin na i-determine yung quadratic equation wherein the roots of that quadratic equation, the sum of the roots of that quadratic equation is negative 5, and we only know the only one root of the equation, which is 7. So, kailangan muna nating ma-determine kung ano yung isa pang root so that we can identify the product. Okay? Take note, ang pattern natin to write the quadratic equation is x squared minus the sum of the roots x. meron na tayong sum, kaya lang wala tayong product. So, we need to identify first the other root. So, ano yung i-prepare natin kay 7? So, we have x of 2. We assign x of 2 as the other root, the unknown root. It's equal to the sum of the roots minus the given root, which is x of 1. So, the sum is negative 5 minus the root, the given root, which is 7. So, negative 5 minus 7, you have negative 12. So, kung i-check natin, negative 12 plus 7, okay, that is negative 5, which is the sum. Okay, so therefore, we can now identify the product. We simply multiply the roots, yung given na 7 na root, and yung na-solve natin na root, which is negative 12. So, 7 times negative 12, therefore, the product is negative 84. So, pwede na nating i-substitute yung sum and product doon sa pattern natin. So, therefore, we have x squared minus the sum. Our sum is negative 5x plus the product, which is negative 84, is equal to 0. So, simplifying further, therefore, we have x squared plus 5x minus 84 is equal to 0. Okay? Next. The product of the roots of quadratic equation is 51, and one of its roots is negative 17. What would be the quadratic equation? So, dito sa first problem natin, ang given sum and one of the roots. This time, the given is the product of the roots and one of the roots. So, since ang inverse operation ng product or ng multiplication rather is division, we need to divide the product by the given root to solve for the other root. Kasi kailangan nating i-determine yung sum. Para ma-determine yung sum, dapat meron tayong dalawang roots. So, therefore, we have x of 2, the unknown root, is equal to the given product of the roots divided by the given root. So, we have 51 divided by negative 17. So, ang second root natin, or the unknown root, is negative 3. So, we are going to use negative 3 to get the sum together with negative 17. To get the sum of the roots. So, we have negative 17 plus negative 3. So, therefore, the sum of the roots of the quadratic equation is negative 20. So, we are going to substitute that to our pattern. Therefore, we have x squared minus the sum of the roots, which is negative 20x, plus the product of the roots, which is 51. So, therefore, we have x squared plus 20x plus 51 is equal to 0. Okay? So, now, it's your turn to solve. You may pause this video while you solve and then proceed to play it again once you are done. So, are you ready? Okay, good luck. Okay, so let us check and see how fair you do with the activity. Okay, did you hit the passing mark? I do hope so. So, see you once again on our next lessons. Happy learning, everyone. Thank you and God bless.